Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
This is Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu, episode 54. I am your host and co-creator, Wheelchair21, and right now, in this episode, it is just yours truly and the Visible Ninja for the opening act. Later on in the episode, we will be joined by Soundout 12, and nonetheless, let's get this show started. So, Visible Ninja, what have we been doing in the time off since episode 53?
Oh, Lord. A lot has been happening. Anime Expo obviously happened, and a lot of news came out of that, both pertinent to the show and not. But let's just say some hype news was there, as well as a couple other things. We learned a bit more about Gridman. Ultraman Rube has begun. And let's just say the magnificent Noel has appeared in Loop Hat. So, yeah, stuff's happening.
Alright, so with that, let me just say that our lit list for this week is going to be one kind of jam-packed event. We have some of the news that we want to talk about from the last couple of weeks that we missed, like the CSM Ryuki belt, which is the V-buckle, and the drag visor. We're also going to be talking about the most recent wave of Power Morphicon guests. We're going to be talking about how Anime Expo revealed, or should we say Netflix revealed during Anime Expo, that they have secured the rights for the Ultraman manga series movie, as well as we have a release date for Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, and we have a new updated trailer for Gridman the anime, and then for our main discussion, which is actually the full focus of our discussion, is Zyu2, the good, the bad, the Zyu2, because obviously it's kind of ugly, but it's also really great. So let's get into our news at hand. And with that, like I said, we're going to kick off with the CSM V-buckle. The CSM V-buckle was announced, I want to say, roughly on June 24th. And we found out that it's going to have every rider deck, at least every rider deck from Ryuki to start off with. We're going to have the original Ryuki deck. We're going to have the Knight deck. We're going to have Scissors, Zolda, Raya, Guy, Oja, Tiger, Emperor, Verde, Feme, Ryuga, Odin, as well as the blank deck, the two survive decks. In addition, we're getting the Kamen Rider Decade Abyss deck, which is really incredible. It's a total of 17 decks, as well as each of the decks will come with the Advent Beast and Final Vent. Now, with the Drag Visor, though, the Drag Visor is going to feature every card that the other riders used, as well as blank cards and other additional stuff, and that's over 50 plus cards. Now, the actual V-buckle by itself is 30,240 yen. The drag visor by itself is 21,600 yen, but there is an actual combo pack which practically just adds together the two prices into 50,840 yen, roughly $520. Now, since it's gone up for pre-order in the time we've been off, I think it's sold out twice, with them opening it up for a third time to have more offers. Visible Ninja, what are your thoughts on the overall three items? Well, I should say two items, but three options to buy it.
Well, yeah. Basically, I'm just gonna really comment on like the all-in-one set, because the individual sets are fine and everything. In case you maybe only want the buckle or only want the drag visor, but why would you only want the drag visor? But hey, whatever. But yeah, altogether, it's a pretty beefy CSM offering. Like you said, you get, the 13 rider decks, you get the two survives, you get the blank one, which is, the one Ryuki had before he contracted, and then obviously the Abyss deck, which, is a lot of people were wanting, in a usable form, which is awesome. And yeah, it's not terribly surprising that they only come with the Advent Beast and the final attacks, because, that's all cool and everything. Drag Visor, though, does look cool. It has been resized, so it is pretty, near, if not pretty much one-to-one scale with the prop in the show. It uses NFC to read the cards now, and the cards are now larger. So that's all kinds of cool. So it really is a very baller set. Plus, they did get back a like not all, but a lot of the original Ryuki cast to provide voice lines for the new belt and drag visor. Because I know they got like Ryuki, Knight, Zolda, Oja, Feme, Raya, Tiger. I like because they didn't get absolutely everybody, but they got pretty much most people. Most people might want to actually hear like voice lines from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know that they announced at least 8 out of the 13 writers. I think that they are trying to get back actually the Paradox Undead / Abyss's, human form to actually provide dialogue. But from what I know, from the core Ryuki cast, we have the main 6 writers plus Feme, the movie writer.
Which is always awesome.
Yeah, and for $520, it's not that bad, but it's really expensive for a lot of people.
It's balls expensive, but like it's up there with the original, complete selection belts, which they did one of Ryuki, and it came with all 13 decks too. So it's up there, but then again, it is very full featured, and yeah, it's definitely for the more hardcore collectors, but you get what you pay for, which is, a pretty, spiffy ass set with, an awesome reader and, cards, by God, cards.
Yeah, and if I wasn't going to Power Morphicon, I would have pre-ordered this thing in a frickin' heartbeat, since I really do love the Ryuki V-Buckle, the Advent decks, and all the cards associated with it. But now we're going to move on to the Wave 6 Power Morphicon guests, as well as additional guests announced, in the weeks after, since there were a few that actually were not revealed amongst this wave. First off, from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we have David Fielding, who was the actual voice and face of Zordon during the early initial run of the series. We have Jason Narvi, who is obviously Eugene Skullovich, Skull. We have Neo Edmond, who was an actual stunt and fight choreographer who was one of the putty suit actors. We have Ronnie Sperling, a writer for most of MMPR to, I think, Zeo. We have Power Rangers Turbo's Denny Logan, who was the suit actor for Elgar. We have from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, which I believe completes the team entirely now, Sean C.W. Johnson, Keith Robinson, Sasha Craig, who are Carter, Joel, and Kelsey. Ron Roger is Captain Mitchell. And from Time Force, we have Eddie Fearson, who is Frax. Operation Overdrive's Dwayne Cameron has finally been confirmed and announced to be attending, even though I think he already let that shit slip during the first 2 days.
He did. Yeah, he already said he was coming.
Yeah, he already said he was coming. I think Dwayne Cameron even stated, even if he's not asked to be there as an actual attending guest to sign booth, autograph booths and stuff, he said he was still gonna do Power Morphicons as just attending and meeting fans. Because I know I know in the past Roger Velasco's done that, because that's how I met him one year. Power Rangers Megaforce's team has been completely finally finalized, as we got Andrew Gray, John Mark Loudermilk, Christina Masterson, Sierra Hanna, and Cameron Jibo. They literally just straight up said that we got all of them, because I think last time they announced, Azim, who is
Azim
Megaforce Black. Yeah. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, because I'm probably going to
screw it up. It's not the easiest to pronounce.
We have Power Rangers Dino Charge's Claire Blackwelder, who is Kendall. She was Dino Charge's Purple Ranger. And we also have, in the other section from this announcement, was Iris Hampton, who was a casting director, and Shinji Nishikawa. He's better known as being a Godzilla and Ultraman kaiju designer, as well as mangaka, artist, stuff like that. And afterwards, since this wave was announced, we then found out that Adeline Kane is going to be making an appearance during Saturday, as well as a 0-day event is going to be hosted yet again with Austin St. John. A 0-day event is normally pretty much who is going to Power Morphicon who's already there days before. You can pre-order a ticket event to go to say some kind of pizza party or some place that they're going to take you, and usually maybe an actor or two are there, and this year it's Austin St. John. And so those are all the guests we know in this 6th wave, and there's expected to be one final wave most likely at the end of the month. So Visible Ninja, what's your rundown of all these guests announced thus far?
Man, it's pretty full, I gotta say. It's good seeing Narvi, obviously, and we do know that Schreier did, like I said, confirm, a little bit later that yes, he
Oh
is
yeah,
coming
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
I forgot that. I forgot. Schreier
Yeah.
did. Because I think originally they were trying to save him for most likely what's going to be the last announcement, which is Hyperforce. But I think,
Yeah.
Schreier was like, oh god, you guys.
Because
have to
people
announce
were
me with
probably
Narvi.
asking him because Narvi was confirmed and he wasn't, so people were probably either bugging Morphicon or were like asking him if he was coming. So
Yeah,
he just came out and said, "Yeah,
and
yeah,
you know
I'm
why?
coming."
And you know why though? Because this would be like the first year I think that only one of them would show up if he wasn't announced at this point.
Yeah, but he is, and it's just like the thing with Adelaide and Kane. Like she announced like later, like is not part of like the guest wave announcements. So those still happen. But yeah, it's some pretty interesting stuff. Obviously, it's always cool to have Zordon as well as some of the writers there. All the Megaforce cast, Super Megaforce cast, it is pretty cool actually. I actually don't mind them as people, and some of them as actors. Others can debatable, but hey, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting that Shinji Nishikawa is going to be there since we're going to see more from like the monster design side, which is definitely going to be hella interesting because, like I said, this is the guy who's worked on, Godzilla and the Ultra series, and, I'd be interested to hear his insights and, some, stories and stuff that goes through his head. And then also getting the casting side, kind of letting people know, like, what they look for when they're, casting for Power Rangers, and maybe she'll give some tips for any, aspirants. So it's a pretty stacked list, like I gotta say. So.
Oh yeah, no, I think this is one of the best lists we've gotten out of all the announcements in a sense. Like when it comes to like, oh yeah, we almost had like 2 complete teams announced during this reveal, so that's pretty cool. Because we had a lot of Lightspeed Rescue, which clears up with the other Lightspeed Rescue guys that were already previously announced. We also have the Megaforce cast, so it's like it's a really nice just saying, hey, we got like a lot of teams, we got almost teams complete, so you can't really be too upset, you can't really be too pissed off. And I'm hoping the final wave is like one of those ones that really shocks people. Like I'm hoping that, like what I'm hoping is that for the next wave, it's more like not 60-40, but like 70-30, all people who have never really been there before.
Yeah.
Like I'm not hoping that it's just like, oh hey, it's Hyperforce and that's it. Like I'm hoping it's like, hey, we got this guy, this guy, this guy. We got this returning actor. We got this returning actress. I'm like hoping it's like for the first time ever we're gonna have Power Rangers Hyperforce, Amy Jo Johnson, stuff like that. And then like, oh yeah, returning to the con, David Yost, stuff like that would be like really amazing. But what I'm saying is like I'm hoping that we see like names that have not been there. Like I would be so delighted if they were like, oh yeah, we got Grant McFarland who played Lothar. You know what I'm saying? Like just if they were like to say more Disney era actors, Hyperforce, then be like, oh yeah, we got like Amy Jo, David Yost, returning guys from seasons that we've seen previously that weren't already announced for this con that you kind of should have assumed were gonna be here. That would have me like over the edge. That would have me going, oh my god. Or if they were to announce that they have a lot more voice actors that were the voices of these iconic villains and monsters, would also be another added point. Because while they've been there in the past, not all of them actually have been there.
Right.
So that's what I would like to see. I know that's not probably going to happen, but I'd like to see it. The next thing we're going to talk about real fast is Ninja Steel Complete Season DVD set was announced. It's releasing in August for $20. So that means we have the entire 20 to 22 episode series finally on home video. Now, while the series wasn't great, I actually do like this box art. What's your thoughts on the box art, at least?
Oh, definitely. It's a unique look. Like they're definitely putting out some good stuff for the whole 25th anniversary kind of project, I guess you could say. Like I said, the box art is amazeballs, and I'd almost get it for that, but my feelings on Ninja Steel aside, I mean, I enjoy, like, what can I really say is, like, I enjoyed some parts of it, but also a lot of it was just like, I don't know. Obviously, we have to elaborate on it further, but like, for all its faults, Ninja Steel, is still, there are still parts you can enjoy, and at least the cover art looks amazeballs.
Yeah, I do like the cover art, and that's all I can really say about it, because I really didn't enjoy Ninja Steel. But now let's get into the Netflix stuff. Netflix did announce that the Ultraman anime that's based on the 2015 manga that's been out, and now is up to, like, I think volume 9 or 12, actually is going to be distributed simultaneously on Netflix, unlike the Godzilla movie animes that we'll be talking about in just a minute. It's not going to have, like, a theatrical screening. It's supposedly going to hit instantaneously on Netflix worldwide in spring 2019. There is no ands, ifs, or buts of it saying, oh, we're going to have a theatrical release, then it's going to release, simultaneously internationally on Netflix.
Right.
They said that Japan and America are allegedly going to see it at the same exact time by spring 2019. And speaking of, Godzilla, the second installment in the trilogy, City on the Edge of Battle, or as other people probably know it as, Decisive Battle, Mobile Breeder City, which features Mechagodzilla, which debuted just this May in Japanese theaters, will be finally hitting Netflix internationally on July 18th. Ironically enough, I think a couple of weeks ago, early reports stated it was supposed to be released on June, like 21st or 23rd. I remember that they abruptly said it was going to be released June, and then something happened, and those leaks vanished, and they said, no, it's going to be July 18th. So I think what happened was the date was supposed to be like that, but they pushed it back. Which is ironic, because it's also on a Wednesday, lo and behold. A filthy fricking Wednesday. Which makes me wonder, Visible Ninja, will we have to alternate our actual ninja
We
talks
might...
now?
we might have to change our plan since... I don't know.
We will. We probably will.
Yeah, we'll watch it, and then we'll probably give our review, I guess, that night. So yeah. Damn. Well, there you go. Oh yeah, but the Ultraman news definitely interesting. It's good that it'll be hitting, worldwide. Netflix is definitely cool. Definitely can't wait for it since. Yeah, I've heard that because I've read a bit of the manga, not all of it, obviously, and it is pretty damn good, So, be interested to see it in anime form. Definitely looking forward to that. And then Godzilla, like I said, I like the first movie. I can see people's issues with it. I'm like, it's just like me and Shin Godzilla. I'm like, I enjoyed it, but I do agree it's not perfect. It has problems, but I still, as a whole, enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to City on the Edge of Battle, or Part 2, whatever you want to call it. And then Part 3, the Golden Three-Headed Serpent will return.
Oh, you mean Godzilla, a Planet Eater or Star Eater?
Or whatever, whatever they wind up, calling it internationally.
All right,
whatever.
so the last thing we need to actually talk about is the fact that we got finally a new freaking trailer for SSSS Gridman, the anime. And so with this new trailer, we got more updates on, I guess, characters, like dialogue, them talking and interacting with each other, Gridman appearing, the fact that Junk is going to be a part of the series, as well as we know that there's a new character that could seemingly be the new antagonist of the series, replacing Khan Digikaifer, known as Alexis Curb. And this weird, mysterious, evil, menacing-looking character is going to be voiced by Tetsu Inada, who fans probably easily identify with him as the voice of Doggy Kruger / Deca Master. Or if you go even older, if you go even way older, he was Duke Org Shuten, the first Duke Org in Gal Ranger, who was, I believe, adapted as Renta-Axe. And then if you go a little further to that, he was actually Death Scorpion and B-Fighter Kabuto. He was one of the Beat Crushers, who were, the evil... In Beetleborg's knowledge, for those of you who don't know B-Fighter, he would be the Red Scorpion antithesis to the actual Astral Borgs. So that's what the Beat Crushers were. So, Visible Ninja, what are your thoughts on the fact that, one, Doggy Kruger joins Gridman, and two, the dub is set to premiere in... The dub is going to be... Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. It's going to be dubbed by Funimation and released in October, around the same time as it premieres in Japan through Funimation. Okay,
well, Tetsu Inada, definitely awesome to have him as the villain. Like I said, he's, Basuru... Doggy Kruger, as well as numerous other roles throughout the year. So it's definitely cool, listening to him, dubbing the bad guy. Definitely, like he's reminiscent of Khan Digikaifer, but obviously, he's gonna, be wind up different, obviously, since this is kind of a reimagining of the Gridman. the series essentially. Not a sequel or like a retelling or anything. It's going to be its own thing using similar motifs and concepts, but still, you know what? It's awesome, and I actually can't wait to hear the dub, because hopefully they do it justice. And you know what? God. I'm not saying get Matthew Lawrence to do a voice in this, but maybe get Matthew Lawrence to do a voice in this.
Nah, because they'd actually have to pay him like super big bucks, even though he's like a C-list actor.
I know. I'm like, oh, but I want to hear Sam again.
No. You know what they do for Gridman? Get Brad Hawkins to be the voice of Gridman, since he's been since he's a part of Funimation's like alumni of voice actors.
I'd be fine with that, actually, with Brad Hawkins as Gridman.
Like, all they have to do is really just get Vic Mignogna, Brad Hawkins, or Johnny Young Bosch, and you got a solid dub. That's all I can say.
Yeah, true.
But nevertheless, though, honestly, with all the news we got, I mean, it's pretty cumbersome, it's pretty bulky, and it's honestly one of those just things that are pretty incredible. But nevertheless, let's get on to our discussion at hand, where we're going to be joined by Soundout 12. And as we said, we're moving on to our main discussion for this week. It is a part of the series where I, Wheelchair 21, Visible Ninja, and Soundout 12 will be talking about the good, the bad, and the Zyu2. We're hoping that this is the whole discussion for this week's episode, due to the fact that Zyu2 is, quite frankly, a large portion of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's at least almost 30 to 60 episodes worth, I think, of content when you think about it, because it takes place right after they practically ran out of all of the original Zyu Ranger material, and they weren't ready to move on to the Die Ranger content. So you had probably, like, I think 30 to 60 episodes worth of just incredible content. I don't remember the full episode count. Soundout or Visible Ninja, do you guys remember how many episodes Zyu2 lasted?
Well, I think Power Rangers ran out of Zyu Ranger footage at episode 40, and season 1 ran through episode 60, but it also used Zyu footage well into season 2, I think about up to the 20 episode mark, so I think there's probably about 40 episodes of Zyu2 content.
It sounds about right. That's kind of what it felt like. Was 40-ish episodes, because I know there's the whole thing with they wanted to stop at the dumps at Doomsday, and then footage.
And then they happened to they're going to stop at Doomsday, and then the show happened to be a success, and they're like, we need more footage, and then they proceed to butcher that footage for season 2 because toys.
Damn straight.
I'm kind of mad about that still, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, there's at least 25 different monsters, but then for the fact that, we cut up these episodes quite a bit for a few multi-parters, like we had with, Turban Shell and Parantis Head, you get almost 30 to maybe even 40, especially when you start stretching the monsters' appearances in later episodes. So you get a lot of content out of these 25 to 30 monsters that we have seen, and yet there's at least 2 that we have not seen yet. We just know they sort of exist because there was that weird snake monster that got an action figure.
Snizzer.
No, Snizzer was an actual monster.
King Cobra.
Snizzer was I forget, because everyone says the Lord. I know the Lord was supposed to be that the snake was supposed to be the cobra or anaconda that formed Lord Zed's actual scepter, but nothing past that is actually known outside of the action figure for the Serpentine figure, really. But with like we said, Zyu2, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, there's a lot of creativity put into this, since they don't fit your typical Dora monster, and they kind of tried to use the idea to play off of Lord Zed's concepts of what monsters should be or could be. So, who wants to kind of start off where they thought, Zyu2 was good or bad? I guess Visible Ninja, let's go with your take on the whole concept at hand.
Well, oh, God. I will say that it does, the Zyu2 footage, at least how the suit actors are acting, does seem to clash with the actual Zyu Ranger footage, because they're acting a lot more exaggerated and almost energetic, kind of like what they were doing a little bit more in the original American footage, with very exaggerated, talking to each other in suit kind of stuff. Not to mention, Billy's, insane bullshit inventions too, making an appearance. Oh, God. Not to mention the last time we see Tommy, he's firing a stupid-looking phaser rifle in somebody's stomach.
But yet, Power Rangers wouldn't become Star Trek until Lost Galaxy.
Exactly. But as a whole, it was interesting. Like, a lot of the monsters, like, I did like them. Like, Piranha's Head was probably one of my favorites. The one shrimp monster with the Putty Rangers was another one I really liked. I can't remember his name at the moment, but...
It's Commander Crayfish.
Commander Crayfish, thank you. Like, I just remembered he was a shrimp or something with like a fencing foil. But that was definitely another one. And of course, Turbid.
It actually wasn't a fencing foil. It was just a legendary weapon.
Oh, I just remembered it was like some little stick thing.
No, it was straight up the legendary weapons that the Zyu Rangers had in like their basic form.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, just the basic like weapon. Oh God, like what was it? There was like it's still kind of interesting, but like I said, like I think there is a bit of a disconnect because at least the suit actors for the Rangers seem to be more exaggerating their motions and such. But that might be just me. I don't know if anybody else kind of knows that. As all, like the monsters seem to be just kind of very. Like, I guess the right word to use would just be very generic Sentai villain monsters, if you know what I mean.
Basically,
like
Toei didn't put too much work into them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they didn't too much work into them. I feel like the monsters that we saw were very... I want to say they were very Showa era, early, even earlier Heisei kaijins. Because they feel like, something you would maybe see in series before Live Man, and something you would maybe see maybe around 5 Man, or even in Kamen Rider. Because some of these monsters do look like they're kaijin you would see at a lot of earlier phases. Because I've seen some concept arts of these characters, and they look like they're just unused concepts for monsters we were to see in Black
Right.
RX, Live Man, 5 Man, Jet Man. So I think a lot of them were just, hey guys, we never used these ideas. Do you think America would like them? Yeah, sure. Let's go start making the suits now.
I would love to know what.
Because that's really
I would love
what's
to know what
going
the
on.
Zyu2 production budget was in comparison to a regular Sentai.
Yeah, because like if you see some of the footage that we've seen in the test tapes, they did shoot a lot of content for America to use. But when the editors got them for Power Rangers, they cut down the footage by quite a lot. Like they gave them a lot of fights.
Like they basically
like,
gave
sequences.
them like 15 minutes worth of fights because that's kind of what Power Rangers was saying content, so you can cut it down. So that way you don't run short for your episodes. But basically they were doing as much fight footage as they normally use for a normal Sentai episode. It was just they didn't have to film the part with the actual actors.
Right.
Yeah, Rangers. Like you see, there's a bit more of fights. There's a bit more of like the Rangers in suit conversing with each other. You see, there's like other parts where there's different types of just takes of the scenic area to make it look like the Rangers are searching for monsters. And like you see a lot of expensive like dynamic shots, but at the same time, when you look at some of the fights, you could see they didn't really put their all into some of these fights. Because one of the best episodes to notice where you could see that they weren't really giving it their all were in the later episodes of the Zyu2 content. Like when you watch the Rangers fighting the Stag Beetle, or when they're fighting Prime Minotaur, you can see a lot of like basic live action cam angles and I guess you would say filters being used, because like you would see different lenses that you normally see during the basic. Like, I shouldn't say basic Zyu fights, but the basic Zyu footage. You know what I'm saying? You got these weird lens and dynamic effects that you would see when they fought. Like I said, like Stag Beetle. You see it a couple of times when they fought Prime Minotaur. I think you see it in the unused fight footage during Piranha's Head, as well as unused fight footage for like a few of the earlier monsters. Like, they use a lot of weird close-ups where you see, like, the cameras under their crotches, like, it's literally, like, right under their feet as they're fighting each other, or you see, like, a guy close in angled trying to look under and down towards them to have, like, all these weird dynamic views that make you feel like it's I guess the best way to say it is, at times, it felt like some of it was filmed to be more of a Hong Kong style, because there was more dynamic areas of camera angles being used and inserted into, like, the close range fights when they would fight, say, putties or the, you know, monster of the week. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could notice that there was different takes and shots and camera lenses. Like, I feel like a part of Zyu2 was they were also experimenting with, like, ways of filming, because if you noticed with Die Ranger and Kaku Ranger, their footage and their fights borrow elements we see that looked like to be the testing grounds on Zyu2. So I feel like they used Zyu2 as an area to test new concepts when they went for later seasons in the early 90s or mid 90s.
Well, something I was thinking about was that Zyu2 is basically kind of like what Kyoryuger Brave was, where you just have, you know, Toei suit actors and stunt team people all working on, you know, the side project together for a different show for a different country, and being able to kind of experiment because they're not under the thumb of you're doing the main show for Japan. You know, you're doing the American show. Oh, you're doing the Korean show. You know, you can just kind of do what you want. Because I felt like Kyoryuger Brave did a lot of kind of similar experimenting with cinematography, wire work, and especially like mecha fight effects. And a lot of that has transferred over into Lupin Ranger and Pato Ranger. So I feel like a similar thing has kind of happened, and also that it's very possible that, much like with Kyoryuger Brave, Zyu2 was done with up-and-coming suit actors that hadn't done main Ranger roles consistently yet.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like a lot of it was experimental work, because you see a lot of unique styles in the actual hand-to-hand combat as Rangers. And then the mecha battles, one thing I kind of noticed was when they composed the new Daijujin footage, and you see a lot of it that was eventually, unfortunately, just scrubbed, and they try to omit Daijujin and replace him with, you know, clips of Dairano. He has a lot more, I guess you would say, motion, and he does a lot more action in the fights. Because if you watch the uncensored reel of, say, Daijujin versus Prime Minotaur, Daijujin versus Bloom of Doom, Octo Phantom, the Stag Beetle, and Robo Goat, like, their fights were probably 7-minute long fights using Daijujin or just Dragon Caesar, just dragged out fights. So when they shot, like we said earlier, when they shot this footage, they were like, oh, well, here you guys go. You could literally just make an episode about the Rangers in suit and not even have your human actors. Like, they gave them a lot of content. Like, it's impressive. Like, it's really good. They went into a high dexterity of just giving them so much footage. It's like, where are you guys going to go wrong? Oh, you're going to chop out Daijujin and put in Dairano. Yeah, that looks a little shoddy, fam.
Yeah, that's honestly the biggest tragedy of Zyu2, is that it didn't seem like the people working on MMPR really appreciated what they were given. It's like they contracted it out to Toei because they needed more footage and they weren't able to do their own. But they started doing their own footage while they still had Zyu2 footage.
And this is the thing that I was talking to Visible Ninja as we were watching the show, is that I would have preferred if they would have just immediately introduced Zed and then made the midway point after they lost Tommy again, you know, when they finally lost him, to then be the reason why they needed the Thunder Zords. Like, they could have made it that Zed showed up for right after Rita. They do this one-off season kind of thing where they fight him, he completely decimates them, and then they need the Thunder Zords, and then it goes into the Die Ranger footage, and him start creating, like, the Die Ranger monsters at that point, rather than them just up and going and, you know, omitting all of the, you know, Zyu2 footage to clip in Dairano. But at the same time, there's that whole bullcrap of, oh, because they brought in a new big bad, they escalate to the new Zords. But I'm like, they could have done something where they didn't have to, I guess, bastardize that incredible footage.
No, the real answer was
and that's the thing.
They wanted new toys on the shelves. and they didn't
Exactly.
want
That's another thing too. Yeah.
Because remember, guys,
They
MMPR
just
is
didn't
the
wanna
greatest season ever. No, it's not, because it makes a lot of liberties in its storytelling for toys, and to let not as much footage. They don't make footage liberties as much as they do. Oh, we want more toys. Oh, we still have footage. Oh well, we'll just try to hack it together. This is why I think that MMPR Season 3 is the best season of MMPR, is because it has a more consistent storyline, and you also have more consistent editing and footage usage.
And that's the funny thing is, like, while it's the more consistent and better filmed of the three, I still prefer Zyu2 and Season 2 just a bit more, because with them having a lot of these suits in hand, it then allowed them to create all of these great actual try to do fights with reviving monsters on a weekly basis. So it wasn't really monster of the week, it was reoccurring monsters that you would see.
I do like that
which I
aspect,
thought
but
was a
watching
cool concept.
Season 2 makes me want to, die inside as an editor.
Oh yeah, no, I think the biggest issue is when they had to edit a lot of the Zord footage. That's where, you build up a lot of that, oh my god, this...
Most of the mecha fights were just the Dyrano finishing move, and nothing else. And, half the time when the sword would hit the... if they had the Megazord attack the monster directly, it would instantly switch to the sword of the Daijujin.
Great, yeah, you would see Great Horn.
Yeah. And so, you have all these inconsistent things that, look, I'm not saying Megaforce is a better season, but at least they tried harder to remove Data's hyper.
That's true.
They actually basically made Data's hyper never exist in those couple episodes. I think there was one shot where we saw a red fist by accident, but that was about it. They did a really clean job of removing that Zord completely.
Now here's another thing though that I was talking to, I think, Metal about, was one of the funny things also about Zyu2 and Season 2 and all the jarring edits that is kind of hilarious in its own right, is the fact that, one of its biggest inconsistencies is the fact that they would want to use the parts where the monsters would hit the Zords, but then you could see it, obviously, it was Daijujin they hit. But there's another thing that a lot of fans don't know or notice, is that a lot of people say that America did not have the Dyrano suit or the Wan Tiger suit until the end of Season 2 and into Season 3. But when I was rewatching the show, I found out that all of the fans are wrong, because there's a few cutaways in the last couple of episodes of Zyu2 footage where you actually see the monster of the week, like Octo Phantom, and I think it was... I gotta see this to be correctly. Octo Phantom and I think the Stag Beetle, out of nowhere, the scene changes from the 90s, Toei camera filter, all of a sudden changes to the vibrant, almost HD-like era of the early 90s, like the very high-quality picture reels we were filming Power Rangers on, and you literally see Stag Beetle and Octo Phantom's fists hit Dyrano right in the chest, and then you see sparks shoot out of it. And at that point, I was like, oh my effing god. They had Dyrano since the beginning, but they were too lazy to even think of trying to create their
they
own
just didn't want to spend the money
original
to do
Zord
it.
suit. I think that's another reason, too, is that they didn't have the money, or they just didn't have American suit actors that were qualified to go in a 80-pound suit.
Even then, as we know from our history lessons that we've learned, Saban has always had the money. He just never wants to use the money.
Well, yeah.
He uses the bare minimum necessary in order to sell the product and sell the show. Anything more than that is unnecessary to him, because that's the way he runs the business. So if they don't have to use the footage, then they're not going to use the footage. And they're not going to make new footage if they don't have to.
Oh, yeah. And of course, they also, occasionally damage suits beyond repair, like they apparently did with Dyrano. So,
and
yeah.
Gasket and Archerina.
Exactly.
Which is why their plot never resolved.
Good job, Saban. Good job.
But I will say this much. When it comes to Saban and money, I think that the only reason why they ordered Zyu2 footage was just because they didn't have the stunt team available to do new footage for Rangers. Because as soon as Season 2 starts, they're already jumping into new fight footage that they're shooting themselves, which just means that, they got more money in, obviously, but they also had their stunt people trained by that point.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's kind of confusing, because a lot of people tend to say that when they look back at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, a lot of people try to omit Zyu2 from ever existing and a majority of season 2. And I'm like, but I think that's when the show seemingly got a bit better because instead of having these weird, corny... Because when you watch the first, like, 50-something episodes, there's, like, really corny, crappy Aesops. And then in Zyu2, they sort of tried to do that in the first couple of episodes of the Zyu2 episodes. But then after that, they were like, oh, let's just do, like, weird actual plots that lead to, you know, Zeta Rita coming up with a way to ruin our day. Or they just, you know, or the monsters have a plan to attack us while we're just, you know, enjoying our day off. And then they just come and F it up. I feel like a lot of people overlook the fact that Zyu2 in Season 2 is when the show was finally coming into its own. And then Season 3 kind of tried to fix that stuff, but it was already too late because they're like, oh, we're going on to Zeo.
But also, Season 3 did a really good job at doing the only thing that Power Rangers was lacking at the time in story development was Season 3 actually managed to build things up over an arc of the season. They built up Kimberly leaving. They built up, you know, Kat taking over the Pink Ranger. They built up the Zeo crystals super far in advance. Like, they had an actual plot plan.
Well, they literally had a plot plan because when Season 3 premiered, there were literally already bumpers for Zeo already going, which was ironically hilarious.
They knew what they were doing, and they, you know, like, Mighty Morphin ends on a cliffhanger for a very specific reason, because that last season was just kind of, well, we gotta, you know, we're gonna be getting ready for Zeo. Let's start building that story up. And that's, you know, what they did. And the thing is, like, Season 3, your only Sentai footage being used pretty much is the, you know, the Megazord fights. So, you know, all the fights match, the character personalities and mannerisms and movement match, and all the new, there's no jarring, like, footage transitions in Season 3. And I think that Zyu2 to an extent did the same kind of thing, because Zyu2, when they were shooting it, they were making it for Power Rangers, so the suit actors were performing as if they were the American characters and not the G-Ranger characters. For, you know, once in Power Rangers' life, without having to make their own footage, they didn't have to have their characters match some other characters. They could write the stories that would match their characters appropriately to footage that was made for them.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really do like. While it is a bit jarring because, one, obviously some of the actual Japanese suit actors in the Ranger suits are a little bit more stoic, a little bit more slender and slim, and maybe they look taller on screen than the actors we had in America. It does also add that fact, because, like, there's parts where, you know, the infamous gif of, you know, the Prime Minotaur, you know, how it would clone and copy one another, and you just see, like, you know, Green Ranger and Black Ranger, like, with their arms crossed, leaning back, looking at each other like, you think this is really him? Like that's a gif. Like, it's like the gif from Akiba Ranger of, you know, powerful Rangers doing the what? Like, it's one of those things of, like, there is a lot of, like Metal says, jarring suit acting because they were mimicking the American style of suit acting a little bit more by having weird eccentric mannerisms that make no effing
sense. And not
to
mention the fact they were actually tying it more in because they had, you know, pink and green, you know, just kind of, you know, seemingly, you know, since they were, you know, in, you know, a thing, and then, you know, having yellow actually have boobs and be friends with Pink, and then have Blue be more timid and not as comedic like he was in Zyu-Ranger, for example. So, yeah, it kind of went beyond that, so.
Yeah, now, if only we would have saw, you know, Mammoth Ranger in the Zyu2 footage dancing, and I'd be like, yeah, this looks
Goshi
weird.
doing hip-hop keto.
Yeah, some hip-hop keto. But overall, like, I think with Zyu2, it was, like, what really helped bring Power Rangers to start working on becoming what it needed to be. Because, I mean, once they finally, I guess you could say, didn't need to use the Zyu2 footage, even though they still did use it in Season 2, they had some ideal, interesting topics on using characters and footage that we rarely frickin' saw, you know? Because, I mean, the fact that they were able to rewrite the Pachinko Head episode is kind of interesting, and damn, Soundout, you're getting a lot of text messages again.
Yeah, blame Darkon.
Tell them to shut up. No, I'm just kidding. But still, it's one of those things, like, you there were so many things. Don't forget, there was an episode of Season 2 where they used the one-off pipe monster from the epilogue, and they made an episode about him. Think about that. They used they made the lifeguard blue and white, like, tube monster from like the epilogue of Die Ranger, and we're able to use that in season 2. So, like, if you think about it, they were trying to slowly evolve their game when it came to Zyu2 and onwards. Here's some questions though. What are personal favorite moments though with the Zyu2 episodes? Like, do you have like a favorite monster? Do you have a favorite episode or a favorite arc?
I liked everything.
Oh god. Well, I think I pretty much already mentioned it. Like Piranha's Head, Pumpkin Rapper. Dear God, goddamn Pumpkin Rapper.
I like him because his raps weren't actually that bad.
I know,
like,
but
I
it's
think
just
Pumpkin
kind of
Rapper's my favorite.
yeah.
Is it also because he's voiced by Zudomon?
There's that too.
What an
Like, here's the thing.
idea.
Sound out if Michael Sorich goes to PMC because of VR Troopers, I'm gonna be like, Pumpkin Rapper! Pumpkin
We're gonna
Rapper!
chase him down the hallway and yell Pumpkin Rapper, and he's gonna like call us, and we're gonna get arrested.
Now come on, people are gonna be screaming "What an idea!" at him, or Digivolve, or that. So you know. Oh
Because
god, yeah,
people remember VR Troopers.
yeah.
No one remembers that garbage.
Or the other ones, Robo Goat, because it was kind of ludicrous. It was like a goat in armor. It was weird. Guitardo, like I said, the tick fly monster. Since in an episode centering around a guitar, you'd think the monster would be like based on like a guitar, but no, it's like a tick. Doesn't make any sense. Commander Crayfish or Captain Crayfish, and you know the good, you know, evil Rangers, not Zed shitty ones. You know, the ones that actually looked like Rangers.
You mean the ones that Toei made because they actually know what they're doing?
Yeah. And then, of course, Turbine Shells, since, yeah, he comes from an episode where we got, you know, the greatest attack of all time.
So here's a question, randomly, just to test your
Yeah.
knowledge. What season was Grumblebee from?
Grumblebee is actually, if I recall, Zyu2 footage.
Cool. Because I just found the Grumblebee figure in storage the other day.
Yeah, and then they reused him for In Space for that one B that Cassie became friends with, if I remember right.
I forget his actual name.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but I know he was like, "Oh, I don't want to harm anything." Oh.
And then like the actual Mega Ranger villain shows up, who's also a B, and he's just like, yeah, no, sorry, you can't be who you want to be.
You gotta harm shit, kid. No.
Didn't he die tragically?
No. He should have, though.
He should have, yeah.
So they bitched out like they did with that robot in Megaforce.
Hey.
I guess.
Hey, at least I actually died in Ghost Sager.
Yeah, that was my point.
Just saying.
So, Sound Out, you got any favorite episodes specifically from Zyu2?
Dude, Mighty Morphin's a blur to me. It's one giant 155 episode blur. I know everything that happened. I couldn't tell you what happened when.
Yeah, no, for me, like, Zyu2 is actually my more, I guess you would say, nostalgia field moment of, like, you know, original MMPR and, like, nostalgia to a T. Because growing up, I always noticed that Zyu2 were, like, the most replayed and syndicated episodes outside of, like, Season 2 and 3. Like, Season 1, I never saw in its entirety till Power Playback started playing, specifically on ABC Family, where they would air every episode straight on through syndication on top of syndication on top of syndication, and they never skipped around like the original Power Playback on Fox Kids. But like one of the things I liked about a lot of the Zyu2 characters or monsters were like the ones that actually got action figures, either in the 5.5-inch line and some of the ones that were in what was it, the 8-inch line, because like having a toy of it meant that I could have it play with my figures. And over the years, though, I liked the ones that reappeared more throughout Season 2 from their initial start. So, like, stuff like, Pexter, Sockadillo, Rhino Blaster, Robo Goat. Like, those are guys that, for some reason, I think it was because those suits stayed the best intact when they were brought over to America. That's one of the reasons why we got to see them more often, was because those suits, one, did not smell bad, two, they were well preserved, and they were maybe the more easier of the suits for the American actors to move around in. Because, I mean, we see Rhino Blaster, Sockadillo, Pumpkin Rapper, Robo Goat, Pexter, and, like, Salaguana and Stag Beetle, like, over 7+ times throughout the course of their initial debut to the end of season 2, and then we see them in crowd shots throughout the rest of the franchise, all the way up until like Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. So I mean, if you think about it, those are a lot of suits that stayed intact, and for having figures of them, that's great. Hopefully, when Hasbro starts making Legacy Ranger figures and they do Monsters of the Week, they'll go right into Zyu2 as well as popular generals that never got figures, like Olympias from Lightspeed Rescue.
Don't start me on the figures that should have been made. That's a podcast for itself.
Oh God, yeah.
Sir, that is an editorial and a podcast and a video series
Damn straight.
in itself.
And we're going to hire a customizer to actually make the figures.
Are we?
Someone get King Ranger
Do we
on
have
the
the
phone.
money for that? All right, speed dial. But nevertheless, though, I think with Zyu2, there's like so much good, there's so much bad. It's just like, I think it's such a camp fest and filled with nostalgia that like I think a lot of people love it as much as they hate it. It's like one of those things of without it, you wouldn't have the rest of the crap that we do today. So it's one of those things where like, yes, there are some bad episodes in there, like the Guitardo episode for sure, because that thing's utter garbage. Like the Goofish episode. Like, I want to beat everyone to death every time I see the Guitardo episode. Like, I hate that episode, bro.
Hey, Wheels. You want to hear a
Yeah.
crazy hairbrain scream?
What?
So, since we have raw footage for Zyu2,
Yeah?
we should get the G Ranger cast together and make G Ranger 2.
Oh my god, you mean like just have them do weird paraphrase readings? Scripts?
Yes.
Damn
And
straight.
There's enough footage, we would literally have 20 episodes, like 20 minute episodes.
Just 20-minute shorts.
Like, we don't even need to have them come back, like, physically and do it. We just need them to read dialogue.
Then we just need to add in more sound effects and fight clips.
We need to add sound effects, music, dialogue. There you go.
That would be actually pretty effing funny. But then it would be like, how do we emphasize on the monsters being resurrected and sent down to Earth for them to fight? Like, we don't have Soga to do the voice. We'll just take weird dialogue and just cut it up from the Zyu Ranger footage, so it actually sounds like it would be a Soga plan.
Even better, get Carla Perez, teacher Japanese.
Teacher Japanese. No, not Carla Perez. Get Barbara Goodson, teacher Japanese. Get Barbara Goodson, teacher Japanese.
Well, since we don't actually have footage for Rita in some of the Zyu2 raw footage, we should get Carla Perez.
God, get both of them. Or plot twist. Instead we make it that like it's like those weird random episodes of Zyu Ranger where Goldar was not Goldar but Griffiza came up with the plans and like freaking because remember like if you ever watch Zyu2, Goldar comes up with the plan, Rita just takes his ideas and runs with them. So what we do is we just clip the part where it's actually just Griffiza talking or Goldar talking, get Griffiza's voice actor and maybe clip in quotes of Lammy and make it that they're the ones who are coming up with these stupid harebrain schemes like, oh yeah, Bandora's passed out, let's go find a way to stop the Zyu Rangers without Bandora. Yeah, good idea, darling. And then we just clip in, random vicarious fights with Lammy and Griffiza just so it makes it more practical.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, if Barbara Goodson's unavailable and we hit the lottery, we should get Elizabeth Banks to voice Rita in Japanese.
That'd be so weird and cracktastic.
Is it weird that
Oh, God.
Elizabeth Banks is the backup?
I mean, who else would we get as a backup for Bandora? I mean, we'd have to get Barbara Goodson speaking Japanese, Carla Perez speaking Japanese, or we just get an actual Seiyu that could maybe mimic her voice that can do it in Japanese.
I mean, I think realistically speaking, I'm going to have to do the voice.
Probably.
God, that would be awful. No, we're not doing that.
Oh.
Stop that.
So I'll be Bandora and Lammy and Terra Ranger. Metal will be Mammoth Ranger, Tiger Ranger, and Tricera Ranger, and then you get to be Tyranno Ranger and Dragon Ranger. We just got to figure out footage of Dragon Ranger coming back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Or just say it's a Gaiden that takes place halfway through the series.
Oh my God, Zyu Ranger 2, we just call it Zyu2 the Gaiden. Zyu Ranger
Are you
Gaiden.
Sentai Gaiden? Zyu Ranger 2? Because we're not calling it Zyu2, it's Zyu Ranger 2. That way we don't get any mix-up.
So, yeah. This sounds so ridiculous and harebrained that people listening to this are going to be like, these guys are smoking a lot of crack.
We are.
Thing.
We really
If
are.
someone with money takes this idea and actually makes it, I'm not going to be mad.
I ain't even gonna be mad.
God, that would actually be funny though if we actually were like talking to like the actual Jew Rangers. Like, so if we wrote scripts and you could like, if we found someone to translate them into Japanese, would you read the dialogue for us so we could make harebrained Jew Ranger Gaiden episodes where it just like overdubs that? And then, oh my God, then we'd have to get like a voice. Isn't Daijujin's voice actor dead too? So we'd have to get a new guy to voice Daijujin.
You know what? Daijujin's mute now. He swallowed an herb by accident, and it caused his voice to disappear.
Or we could just ask the guy who was like the voice of Muteki Shogun, unless they're the same
I
guy.
think it was the same guy.
Okay, then we'll find a new guy.
How about the guy that voiced Gosei?
I mean, no, we need a guy who actually speaks Japanese.
There's a very good explanation for that.
Krim Steinbelt.
That would be a little awkward. We'll make him Barza.
Nice drive.
Okay, whoever voices the build driver.
Fine, we'll do that then. But yeah, no, nevertheless, though, I honestly think that, like, with Zyu2, that, like, that's probably, like, where the epitome of, like, Power Rangers nostalgia is formed, honestly. Like, I honestly feel like that's where a lot of us remember a lot of the crazy stuff that happened.
Because that was, like, the good stuff
Honestly.
in Mighty Morphin Season 1. Most of it is awful garbage, and I don't understand how anyone...
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, too, because, like, Season 1 isn't really truly awful garbage, because, like, I'm like... I don't
say
hate
that the show
it,
got
but
good
yeah.
when Tommy showed up. They're really not wrong. But even when Tommy shows
Yeah,
up,
they're
like,
not
Green
really
with Evil's
wrong.
kind of amazing. And then, like, after that, there's, like, a few episodes that are okay. But then when you hit the Zyu2 stuff, it actually gets really good and exciting and, like, interesting. Part of that's because they stopped using boring-ass Jew Ranger footage.
Yeah, because, like, well, I wouldn't say Jew Ranger's boring, but, like, there's a lot of cool fights that I liked and a lot of cool stuff, but, like, I feel at times that I like the footage more in its source material than its adaptation, because I feel like they had to really cut down a lot of cool and interesting stuff that, you know,
Censorship.
couldn't be used because, yeah, censorship, exactly.
Jew Ranger is still the most boring Sentai to me, and that's because I just cannot... Like, I don't know what is about it. I don't know if it's bland or what, but I cannot get into Jew Ranger. I've never made it past episode 5. And I've tried, like, 3 times now.
One of my issues with Jew Ranger is the fact that it doesn't really make sense. And that's a whole story for another podcast. But like I said, like I've been saying on the show and we've all been saying, Zyu2 is interesting, it's good, it's great. It's just a different take on things. And I think that a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are really more fondly remembering seasons 2, like later season 1, early season 2, all of season 2. And they mostly just remember out of MMPR, Day of the Dumpster, Green with Evil, The Green Candle, and Doomsday. I feel like those are the only significant things people can naturally remember. And it's not really a shame because, you know, you're not meant to remember everything in life. You try your best to do it, but you're not going to remember almost everything in life.
Guys, I want to
No
shoot
one has,
something
like,
right now.
that
I'm so
perfect
mad.
memory. Why?
You ever cut a V-fin off of a Gunpla runner and it just snaps the V-fin in half?
Yes, I
No,
have.
but Visible Ninja has done it.
Like,
yes,
I just cut the part that's supposed to be cut, but I did not touch the V-fin, and it just literally sheared off half of it.
Yep. Been there.
I don't even know how to fix this.
Either glue or
Glue.
prayer.
What if I just cut the other one to be the same length and pretend that nothing's wrong?
That's what I do.
But yeah, no, nevertheless, though, we're going to wrap up because I think we hit the nail on the head with what really is Zyu2. It's good, it's bad, it's great, and you'll love it. Nevertheless, what else can we say?
Everyone go watch it.
We have
Raw.
other-
It's much better.
Yeah, that too. I was
Then
going to
you
say,
can
nevertheless,
make up your own stories.
Fan fiction.
That's what
writers
we're going
who
to
have
do.
Source footage, do it.
There you go.
But nevertheless, though, we're going to start moving on because we have other stuff to do for this podcast, other shows, other content, and our website because we're on the road to Power Morphicon. I am Wheelchair21. You can follow me on Twitter at Wheelchair21. You can follow Soundout at Twitter at Soundout12. And Metal Ninja is what? Metal Ninja Zero on
Yes,
Twitter?
Metal Ninja Zero.
And for all things Hero Club related, that is not just a website at Hero Club, or I should say hero-club.com. You can follow it on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Hero Club for Life. We will see you all next week for something interesting if Soundout ever finishes that show.
Yeah, well, guess what? Next week we start a new sub-series.
Soundout watches Ultraman.
Soundout tries to watch Ultraman. There is a very clear difference.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll see you next time with an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu.
Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.